Okay, I think almost everybody's on, so why don't we go ahead and get started. I'm Bonnie Crater. I'm CEO of Full Circle Insights, and our webinar today is Measuring the Power of Your PR. I'm particularly excited about this topic because I've been a 5-time VP of Marketing, and this is something I've always wanted to measure. Oftentimes PR is, while it may be a very important component of your marketing mix, it's really tough to say, how is this activity connected with revenue? And I'm excited to say that we have a method here. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and looking forward to having that discussion with you. So I'm joined today by Heather Kelly. Heather is CEO of SSPR. Heather, you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I am Heather Kelly. I'm the CEO of SSPR, and I've spent my whole life in the PR game. So for over 20 years, I've watched and participated in the evolution of this industry. And I've seen that transformation that Bonnie's talking about, from PR just being a strictly unmeasurable art form to the blend of art and science that we see it evolving to today. So SSPR is a vibrant, fast-paced agency, and we're really leading the charge on this evolution. And I'm excited to share some of our secret sauce with you all today.
Thank you, Heather.
Great. So if we look at our objectives, this is what I want us to walk away with today at the end of our hour is, what is PR's place in your marketing mix as a demand and awareness channel? What tactics should command your focus to optimize media placements? And what metrics and tools can connect PR to your pipeline and to your revenue via correlation and lift analysis? So I'm going to kick us off here with 2017 highlights of our relationship with Full Circle Insights. And this is sort of the start with the end in mind. Maybe you saw the movie way back in 2000, Memento. So that movie, the whole story goes backwards. If you've never seen it, I checked this morning, it's on Netflix. Highly recommend you put it in your queue for the weekend. But what I want you to understand is PR is really storytelling. So if someone asks me what I do, I say that I help companies tell their story. And so when we look at what we've accomplished in these highlights for Full Circle, we have to start with sort of what's that end in mind. So we've had 40 stories in the first 3 quarters. We've had 500,000 unique views, 7,000 social shares. We've also secured 2 speaking engagements and 6 awards, including the TMC Tech Culture Award that Bonnie and her team received this week. So this kind of gives you the lay of the land, that what I'm going to tell you on how we got here, kind of validating it up front, really letting you see the end in the beginning. So how do we do it? There's really 3 things to a successful PR campaign: defining what success is going to look like, determining those goals, and building out your strategic focus. And those are the things I'm going to talk through with you today. When we look at our relationship with Full Circle Insights, there are 4 ways that we measure success. The first is media mentions. This is like the PR 101 of measurement tools. In fact, I would really say that it's more of a metric to track and not a goal to measure. What I mean by that is, mentions are great, and they give you an understanding of how you're doing quarter over quarter. If you average 12 to 15 mentions a quarter, and all of a sudden one quarter you have 4, or one quarter you have 25, it's a good opportunity to say, something's different here, and we need to take a look at it. We need to pivot or adjust our strategy to either right the ship or to continue on that trajectory if that number's increased. But what you want to not do is, you need to remember, all mentions aren't created equally. So you want your PR team really focused on opportunities that drive impact and not just a numbers goal. So if you have a goal of 10, it would be better to hit 8 that really impact your business than 12 that don't. So it's important to have it as a metric to track, but not a goal to measure. Link backs and social shares are important because they begin to move you to that next level. Link backs are links in a piece that's been written about you, and they bring SEO value, and they allow you to see some information as it relates to people coming to your site. With the right tools in place, you can really get some value there. And social shares are important because they're a sign of earned traction. It takes a certain level to get someone to read an article about you. Another level engagement if someone is sharing that on their social channels. And so that really helps you understand what's that earned traction. Mind share. This is sometimes also called share of voice. And really what it is, it's the understanding of your competitive landscape. And it's an absolute great way to see measurement over time. So what I mean by that, it allows you to see what's happening in your industry by a few key competitors and how you can control your marketing plan based on that information. So how do you set it up? You need to take a look at your market. Who is similarly situated to you? I recommend you pick 4. I like everything in 3s and 5s. So if you pick 4, there's 5 of you in this story. And I suggest you maybe pick one that's aspirational. So a competitor that you kind of want to model yourself after, or a direction you want to go. I don't recommend, if you're a startup, that competitor is Google or Apple or Oracle or Salesforce. And the reason I don't is because you want to get real analysis and real data from looking at mindshare. And what's going to happen at the end of the quarter is you're going to get a pie graph that comes back and says, Apple had 99.9% of the mindshare, and you and these 3 other competitors shared 0.1%. So you really want to use this tool to allow you to get a close look at how your competitors are behaving. And again, that allows you to pivot and adjust. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about mindshare later, but I really want to talk about its value here in terms of defining your success. And then website traffic and demos. This is the holy grail of success, right? Is your PR driving results? This takes teamwork, this takes open dialogue, and it takes a few key tools. Bonnie's going to dive into this more a little later, but if you're using Google Analytics, this is something you should be sharing with your PR team or your PR agency. You need to be looking at that data. At our agency, we support our clients with a Google Analytics program that we have in-house. Okay, so now we know how we can measure success together. We need to set a baseline of what we want to do.
So Heather, this is Bonnie. I just wanted, sorry for interrupting, but I just wanted to share kind of when I look at a list like this as CEO, and this is just advice for people on the call who are not CEOs but are working for a CEO, the things that I think are important. Now, I have a background in marketing. I'm a former 5-time VP of marketing, so I love all of these things. But when it's at the end of the day, when I am trying to build a business, I'm really interested in demo requests, because that is a key measure of and a key forward indicator for our company. And then the second thing I'm interested in is mind share with a competitor. I want to beat my competitors, so I want to know how are we doing versus the competitors. So thank you for letting me jump in there, but I just wanted to kind of give the CEO perspective for folks.
Absolutely, and I think that goes back, I call the website traffic and the demo, as I said, the holy grail, because it really is, right? It's what you as at the C level really is this making an impact in our business? Does this really matter? How can we show that? Okay, so then we have to define what the goals are. So with Full Circle Insights, we define these goals. And how do we come up with goals? I believe that the best place when you're looking at your own organization or you're a PR team working with a company to figure out how to set those goals is to look for the intersection of the assets that the company has, the needs that we're trying to fill, and the opportunities in the media space. So when we think about this with Full Circle, we really looked at increasing broad brand recognition for Full Circle Insights, positioning Bonnie as a thought leader on all kinds of business issues that are facing startups, the tech space, women in tech, all sorts of those areas. We're going to use Bonnie's expertise, her knowledge, her abilities, and her willingness to take on these sort of hot topics. And then we also want to communicate Full Circle has really powerful capabilities and a great team with experts in marketing tech. And so we looked at those assets and said, we want to talk about that as well. What is that innovation? What's that product piece? And that is how we identified these 3 goals. So we've got how we're going to measure. We've got the goals we want to achieve. here's the big challenge. How do we do it? So what is our strategic focus? Often this is called your media mix. So again, it goes back to, as PR people, being a storyteller and understanding how we can lead the path to demos and downloads. We're going back to that holy grail. So what kind of outlets, what kind of stories? And we identified here that we really wanted to focus on hot topics from a national press perspective, emerging market trends for brand recognition, and in the trades, really securing consistent cadence of interviews to highlight the expertise of the Full Circle Insights team on all sorts of challenges that marketers are facing. Because remember, at the end of the day, as Bonnie said, if we aren't driving the business, then our plan isn't working. So these strategic focuses are very specific to Full Circle Insights and is based again on sort of that, what are the assets of the team, what are the needs, and then what are the opportunities. So now you put all this magic stuff that we've talked about in our Willy Wonka PR machine, and this is kind of where the art part happens that I talked about earlier, because we're only as successful as our story and our pitch. And I'm not going to show exactly how we do it behind the curtain, right? So now I've got all kinds of movie references happening. But let's talk about what the results are. So for goal one, we want to build brand recognition. These are the kinds of stories you see USA Today, Teen Vogue, Fortune Inc., the Business Times piece. These are the kinds of pieces that elevate the brand. So for example, the piece that we have about the best places to work, this speaks to a number of stakeholders: employees, future employees, customers, potential customers. This is a great way to sing the praises of what's going on at Full Circle. And as the saying goes, everyone wants to partner with a winner. And so that extends beyond just the employee population, but to other customers, partners, etc. With goal two, our goal is executive leadership. Take a look at this quote from Business Insider and check out the date here. This is not a coincidence. Bonnie is willing to take risks. She's willing to talk about controversial topics. That's one of the assets we have as a team with Bonnie. So I'm going to say controversial topics in quotes, because what felt like controversy in January feels today a little less controversial. But it's a good example of being timely and having a viewpoint. How do we leverage those opportunities to really get the kind of success we're looking for? There's a saying in PR, my client wants a souffle, but they don't want to break any eggs. So Bonnie's an egg breaker, and that's great for our team. But not every company has an egg breaker as a CEO. And that goes back to what I talked about earlier. You have to look at what the assets of each individual company and say, okay, our CEO isn't that asset, but there are other assets that we have that we can leverage to get that right media mix. And then goal number three, marketing tech expertise. This goes back to validating that Full Circle Insights team are experts in their space, right? And let me tell you a little PR secret. MarTech today, which is listed here, might actually be more valuable to Full Circle than the USA Today I showed you earlier. And that sort of goes against what we believe about media, but it may drive better results. And those are the kinds of trends and analysis that we want to look at. We want to see what kinds of stories move the needle, and we want to replicate those, and we want to continue to build on that to drive that ROI, to make that bottom dollar impact that we talked about earlier. Okay, so let's look at Mindshare. So I talked about Mindshare a little bit earlier, and this is the Full Circle Mindshare 2016 to 2017 year to date. And if you look at the teal graph, that's 2016, it shows you where we were and how we sort of lined up with those competitors. Competitor one's not having a good time either year, it looks like. But if you can see competitor number 4, wow, they were really rocking it in 2016. And so what we do is we need to dive in and say, what kind of announcements were they doing? What kind of interviews were they offering? What topics were they speaking on? And really look at what their strategy is and how it impacts our strategy. And don't lose sight of 2 and 3, right? They're kind of coming up right there. And so we really want to take that opportunity to dive in and build our strategy for 2017. As Bonnie said, this is important. We want to beat our competitors. And so this is critical that we really understand what they're doing from a PR perspective and how we want to be proactive about that in the next year and how we plan to be reactive about that if they continue to drive in that direction. If you look here at the 2017, you'll see much better, right? Here we are. Woo! We have taken half of competitor 4's share, and we really see, that impact competitor 2's doing a little bit better. But you can kind of see how that all falls out. And so again, this is about going back to the analysis and looking at what your competitors are doing and pivoting as needed so that you can really be strategic about your plan. Because this is in a bar graph and not a pie, you can't see that this was the 2017 Q1 in front of us, that we're at about 45%-ish. And we just got the year to date with Q3 that I saw, and we're above that 50% of mind share for year to date. So again, continuing to grow and not become complacent that we're in first place. We want to be the dominant market position. And so we're going to do the right things to drive towards that. So when you think about mind share, you might think, okay, great, I get the list of 4 competitors that you told me. I plug all 5 of our companies into some fancy pants software. The media mentions come in, and then we just sit back and wait. And that would not be a very strategic approach. And so there are really 5, getting back to my 3s and 5s, 5 super simple things that you can do. They're going to set you up for success to help drive that mind share. Because again, it isn't just about looking at it and analyzing it. It's about driving your bar graph up. First is build your contact list based on tracking your competitors and trends in your industry. Know the industry, know what's happening, be willing to talk about it, know what the future looks like. Communicate with your PR people on what you feel passionately about. What are the areas that you want to talk about? What are the things that you want to share? What are the potential outcomes of talking about controversy, right? Is it that you're trolled on Facebook? Is it that you're worried about customers? Sit down with your PR team. You're on the same team, and write down that list of pros and cons and be honest about it and really take a step to look and evaluate if it makes sense for you. This one's the secret sauce of PR. Act. Be prompt. The faster you deliver, the higher your likelihood of media success, right? I mean, it goes to something happens in the industry. It is about your speed. There is a timeliness component, as I talked about earlier with Bonnie's Business Insider piece, right? It's at the time of the inauguration. She's willing to talk about it. It's having your expert, and it's having your opportunity line up. Ask for link backs. Link backs matter. Again, this is driving SEO. This is driving ability for you to see where things are coming from. Not every publication is going to allow you to do that, right? There's some tier 1s that continue to not offer link backs, but that is changing and that continues to evolve. So don't be afraid to ask. And then sharing your information. You should be sharing internally with your team and your PR team any leads you're getting from media hits that you know were driven, any demo requests that are coming in. You need to be looking together at that Google Analytics report. If you're getting it, you should be sharing it with your PR team. And you need to get your internal team to be sharing your content on social. They're all great ways to do that, but all of this will, in the end, impact and are proactive ways in which you can impact your mind share. Okay. So now you've seen the plan, you've seen the qualitative results, you understand sort of the art of PR, if you will. So Bonnie's now going to show you where the rubber meets the road and how we've measured the real ROI.
Okay, thanks for the good setup, Heather. I wanted to just to talk a little bit about this egg breaking concept. I come from a long line of egg breakers, not necessarily in my family, but actually in companies that I worked at. So I was at Oracle, Larry Ellison, serious egg breaker, Mark Andreessen, yep, at Netscape, founder of Netscape, and Mark Benioff, founder and CEO of Salesforce. All of these guys, they used PR as a very important component of the marketing mix, and that's how I grew up, and that's how I have approached this topic. When we first engaged with SSPR, I was really excited because I was looking for a PR agency that would, be smart enough to actually figure out what our assets were, and then be able to leverage that in various media opportunities. And then second is really hustle. So if you have a good strategy and you have good hustle, then to me, that's kind of the secret to making this all work. But as a former 5-time VP of marketing, I always wanted to measure my marketing. That's why we started Full Circle, actually. And in the beginning, I thought, oh, well, we're going to measure, demand gen. And I'm excited to present to you today a way of actually measuring the impact of PR on pipeline and revenue, which is really exciting. Because at the end of the day, when you are working with your CEO, working with your sales team, working with your marketing team, working with all parts of your company, the actual impact on the business is the most important thing, like moving the needle, and being able to show that you're actually moving the needle is really cool. So we'll advance to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit about Full Circle Insights. This is the commercial part, but I did want to give you a little background in case you're not familiar with the company. We help marketing people accurately track and measure the impact of all of the marketing campaigns on pipeline and revenue. So this is a key thing that I always wanted to do when I was at various levels in marketing, and then as a VP of marketing, I really wanted to do it because I would be going into a meeting. It would be terrible. I would sitting around the table with all sorts of folks that actually had fantastic data on how their particular departments were impacting a business, and I didn't have much to work with. So that really was the impetus to start Full Circle. So our customers look a lot like this. The salespeople are largely running Salesforce.com. That's where they're working. They log in every day and record activity on prospects and customers. And the marketing people live in a marketing automation system. It could be any one of these: Marketo, HubSpot, Eloqua, the part of the Oracle Marketing Cloud, Salesforce Pardot, or Acton, and or others. But those are very popular ones. So the marketing people are in one system, and the salespeople are in another. And the problem that we have in actually showing the impact of marketing campaigns on revenue is that these two systems that don't have the same data. The data is actually in separate repositories. So linking that data together and putting it into one place where both sales and marketing can actually see and use the information is really, really essential. They our best customers do really well. They it's very typical to get a 30% uplift on the productivity of the marketing spend, and that's simply because with this software, they're able to see which campaigns are really essential to the customer journey and which campaigns are not so essential or maybe even not doing anything. So by rejigging the marketing mix, our customers have fantastic success, and it's very material. But here we are, we're talking about PR. So this is the question, right? Does PR generate revenue? If I had this capability 20 years ago, I would be like, anyway, it would really help me a lot. But now we have it, so that's great. So when you're measuring ROI, return on investment, you want to try to understand what your metrics are. So understand what the potential outcomes are and what your metrics are, and then try to figure out what your method is of connecting those dots between the campaigns, the various PR campaigns, and your pipeline and revenue. So things that you could think about, it turns out that every company has some sort of leading indicator. So this is, before the deal is actually closed, the leading indicator that which show that you're making progress as a company. For a lot of companies in the tech business, the download is a leading indicator. For our business at Full Circle, it's the demo, right? The demo request. But there could be other things that you want to measure. So various types of brand awareness, what your page ranking is in Google, what your monthly web traffic is, form fills. We talked about demos or sales appointments, and then of course pipeline and revenue. So these are all things that you might want to engage in and measure. The other thing that you want to think about is actually how you show the correlation and lift. So let me talk a little bit about correlation. So there's two things. There's correlation and there's causality. So causality is when you can see a direct connection. I did this and then that happened. When you're doing marketing, it's really hard to show causality. And the best thing that we can actually do is show correlation. So if you see an increase in this type of PR campaign or just mentions in general, and you also see an increase in something else, what you're seeing is a correlation. There may or may not, so the truth is, right, there may or may not be causality, but these correlations are super, super useful. And you can see, and it's been proven over time and time again that if you follow these correlations and you actually redirect your marketing spend based on the correlations, you do get a much better outcome for your company. So that's overall correlation. The second thing on the slide is around lift analysis. So this is a special question where you want to understand it with one or two types of campaigns or activities that you're doing in marketing. How do you calculate that incremental increase? What is the lift when you actually run those campaigns? So for example, if I run a series of webinars, what kind of lift am I seeing in the results of the company? Is that helping the business? And how much is it helping the business? How much does it help revenue? How much does it help pipeline, for example? So that lift analysis looks at these one or two actions. And these concepts, of course, are related: correlation and lift analysis. Okay, let's start with correlation. And here's just an example here. And this is, this actually, we're not showing units but it's actually an output of our Full Circle data. So what we see what we've seen is that when we had a rise in demo requests, there seemed to be a rise in mentions. So what we're seeing is on the orange line, those are the mentions, and then the gray bars, those are the demo requests. So and you can see it visually so when that orange line is going up. Is that orange or red? Okay, is that the orange line is going up, and then and then it goes down, and then it goes back up again. You can see a pretty similar pattern with demo requests. And for us, demo requests are not only a leading indicator, but they also convert at the highest rates of any of our campaigns. And so so what this means is, okay, when we are when we have a lot of activity going on in PR, we actually are going to be doing better with our business. So that's really cool. Let's talk a little bit about lift analysis here. Here's a couple of examples that might be helpful for you. So what we want to understand is we want to really understand the direct effect of PR on our demo requests. So the way we did this is because, and this is kind of a systems thing. So we have all of our revenue and demo requests and so forth. That's all in Salesforce. The PR mentions are actually stored in a different system. So what you're going to see is that we actually use Salesforce, Full Circle, and a spreadsheet in actually doing this analysis. So okay, so our method is that we want to look at days where PR happened, and then we want to look at days where PR did not happen, and then we want to count the number of demo requests on these different types of days, and then compare them, and we're going to call them PR days or no PR days. Okay, pretty straightforward. So here's the sample spreadsheet, and this is for February. I can't tell you if this is real data or not, but so you can see on February 1st, there was a PR mention, and so in the next column it says PR occurred? Yes. Okay, so then and then on the 13th, there was another one. And so on the next slide, we have a correlation, and you can see here in this slide that that the no PR days is at a certain level, but when we do have PR, the number of demo requests is incrementally larger. And so we can actually see that, and then we can analyze exactly what type of PR happened on those PR days, and look to see whether there's certain types of PR that work best. So another example is what if we wanted we also have seen over time that we get a lift from events. And so one of the things that we wanted to look at was, okay, what happens when we have PR days and events at the same time? So here we have on the left-hand column, no PR and no event days. And then we have in the middle, which is the biggest one, which we have PR days and events happening. And so you can see the number of demo requests is much higher. And then if we just have PR days without events, you can see that there is a bit of a delta down. So if we just have PR and we don't have an event, then we get an incremental increase, but it works better if we have PR and events at the same time. Super cool. I've never been able to measure this before. I'm so excited. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the next thing that you can do is you want to understand how these kinds of website and PR activities compare to on a revenue impact versus other types of campaigns. And so this is a chart which it's in the category of charts called attribution. So we're measuring campaign attribution. And in campaign attribution, what you're doing is you're taking all the revenue that closed during a certain time period, and then you're dividing it up in a logical way among all, in this case, campaign types. And you can see in the, what color is that? Sort of bluish, greenish, aqua. 16% highlighted in red. That's the website/PR impact and activity. And while it may not be number one, right, it's a very important part of our mix. And especially when we combine that with an event, we get a big bump in our best type of campaign, which is the demo request. So that concludes our introduction to this topic. I wanted to just kind of do a quick review with Heather of what we learned and what our recommendations for next steps would be. Okay, so the first thing is, and Heather is totally right about this, is knowing your values and not being afraid to speak up. And breaking some eggs. And this is, I have to say, when I did that Business Insider article, I was a little bit worried of, trolling and that sort of thing. And I said I was a little bit worried. But anyway, I did it anyway. And it turned out to actually be a very important and good thing for the company in creating visibility for the company. The second thing is tracking your competitors and being able to track mind share of your competitors. It's really that's really important, because last year we just didn't do as well as we're doing this year, and it's good to be able to make progress, and because that it's very material for success of the company. We I totally agree with trying to get some sort of proper mix, and the strategy is going to be different for every company, but proper mix of trade press, which is more about what your company is doing, and then national press, which puts your company on a national stage. And then, this is my favorite thing, is being able to draw correlations between PR and revenue, which will help you make the business case for PR. So, and you can do this doing these various correlations, the lift analysis, and also the revenue attribution. And we like to do all that inside Salesforce. And the reason we like that inside Salesforce is because both the marketing and the salespeople can see the same data. Everybody, in the company, or many people in the company, have logins to Salesforce, and it's easy to send notifications to people that even don't have logins to Salesforce. So that is, it's a great tool. Heather, what should we do next?
So next, what's important is really getting that data in order and begin assessing the gaps. Where are those opportunities? What are the things that aren't happening as part of your overall marketing plan? And how do you start to look at that? And then develop that plan. SSPR, we have a complimentary 30-minute consultation. We'll help you get it organized and figure out, where is your intersection of assets, needs, and opportunities, and see how we can do that. And then request a demo from Full Circle. There is nothing better than going into your CFO and being able to show real ROI. An article in Forbes is pretty, but did it impact the business? And you want to be able to connect those dots.
I couldn't agree more. This is some information about contact information about me and about Heather. So if you need to reach us, you can reach us at these emails and Twitter and LinkedIn contacts. And so I wanted to have an opportunity to take some questions. There's a couple that have come in. So why don't we go ahead and start off with those, and we'll see if there's anybody else who has a question. So feel free to use the chat window inside this GoToWebinar application and ask any questions that you'd like. Okay, so the first one is from Terry. Hi, Heather. How did you land on your 3 campaign goals?
Perry, thank you for the question. That's great. Again, it's that some of it is a skill, right? I mean, I've been doing PR a long time. I have a really amazing, bright team, as Bonnie said, with a bunch of hustle. But it is looking at what are the company's assets? So what are the real things that you have that set you apart in the industry or set you apart from other organizations that are going to be speaking to the same types of media? What are the needs? What are you trying to achieve? Is it brand building? Is it demos? What are kind of your leading indicators for your business? And then looking for those opportunities. What are kind of the hot topics? Right now it's end of year. What does 2018 look like in a particular industry? What does 2020 look like? Those are all timely events and things that you can take advantage of. What are other things that are happening, and how do you tie those in? And those help you clearly understand and define those goals.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Heather. Okay, here's another question. It's from Ash. How do you identify which publications are going to help you grow your mind share? Okay, I think that's another one for you, Heather. So how do you identify which publications are going to help you grow your mind share?
Yeah, well, some of that is a little bit of that combination of art and science, right? So it's knowing what types of publications are going to move the needle for you. So some of that goes back to that open communication. Recently, we had a client who wrote us first thing in the morning and said something ran in Canada. Before we could even know it, they were seeing those results. And so there was a TV segment that had run. She was absolutely right. And they were already seeing website traffic from that. So it's saying, okay, TV works for this client. And now we've had 3 or 4 TV segments, and we can say, okay, this is an important part of our media mix, and this is going to help us move mind share for them.
Cool. So you're doing a little bit of experimentation and then measuring and seeing if that works?
Absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's a third question. How can a sales team leverage media placements? I'll have you jump in here, Heather, and then I have some thoughts as well.
Okay. So I think, you want to equip your sales team with all of those opportunities. Anything that's run, right? So one, you want all of your staff, as I talked about earlier, sharing it on their social. There's a sense of pride about their workplace. But for the sales team specifically, those are great opportunities for them to have touch points with prospects. It shows them the kind of thought leadership that your organization has, or the product initiative, depending on if it's national, if it's trade. And so they should be sending those out to prospects. They should be talking about them in meetings. They should be sharing them widely on their social and really leveraging them to their prospects to build that brand recognition and credibility of your organization.
Yeah, and this is really important for particularly if you have a sales cycle that's longer and you have to engage with multiple people and it's complex. Using PR in just and particularly useful, whatever it's bylines or what have you, where it's just useful information in the buy cycle, that it really helps your salespeople engage with the customers and really provide some useful things for the prospect in their journey to try to buy your product. We have another question that came in. It's from Lindsay. And Lindsay, I don't know if Lindsay's a boy or a girl. Okay. Anyway, Lindsay wanted to, I guess man or woman, excuse me, guys. Okay. So Lindsay wanted to know about PR days and no PR days, and what types of PR activities we're talking about on PR days. In general, for us, we actually saw not much difference in the type of PR, whether it was a MarTech advisor trade type press versus national press. Both types of PR actually drove demo requests for us, and I don't think it's going to be the same for every business. I think there's definitely going to be some differences where the types of articles and activities, PR activities, are going to be different for different types of business. But for us, it was really interesting. I just found this fascinating that it kind of didn't matter what kind of mentions that we had. I mean, they're all positive, right? But it didn't really matter if it was national or trade. It was we got a similar result. Heather, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, part of that, I'm looking here at Lindsay's question around what about press releases, or is it days that media appears? And really, we're looking at days that media coverage appears. So there are definitely value to putting press releases out, but I wouldn't recommend it as a strategy for increasing those demo requests.
Yeah, so it's my experience that press releases are great when you have something that you want to announce. If you are a major player in a particular industry, press releases can actually move the needle. If you're a smaller company, like ours, like us, typically a press release doesn't really move the needle. But if you are able to engage engage the media in a story, then that's the thing that moves the needle for us. Okay. I think that's it for questions, and thanks everybody for joining us today. We're going to give you 15 minutes back on your calendar, which most of us can use. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us today, and also Heather, it was really terrific to connect with you. We're big SSPR fans, so happy to have you on this and really share your fantastic knowledge about how to build a PR strategy and then measure it.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here, and we're excited to be working with you and to continue to talk about how this ROI piece evolves in our industry.
Yeah, I think this is just the beginning of something that's very interesting, and I think it's actually fairly revolutionary to be able to show the impact of PR on pipeline and revenue. I think that's amazing. So thank you again, Heather. And if you guys know how to reach us, if you have any further questions, you guys have a great day, and we'll hope to connect with you soon. Bye now.
Thank you.